Welcome to Grove Bites. I'm Richard Steele. My guest today is Sarah Watson, former teacher, now a vicar and school chaplain. Sarah is the author of the Grove book, Chaplaincy and Mission, Shaping Christian Presence and Ministry in Schools. Currently, there are around 1 million children being taught in church schools. I asked Sarah whether she thought the church made enough of that opportunity.
I think it probably varies depending on the place. I think there are some absolutely amazing examples out there where it really does happen, and it happens really, really well. But I think one of the things I'm trying to get across in that, and it's probably more than 1 million now, because there are more schools opening. We've got the expansion, particularly in our own city, new church schools. It's probably bigger than that 1 million figure that was in that report. But what comes to mind for me is that it's the biggest place of engagement that the church has in its community, bigger than any other place. You know, more contact with families through church schools than any other means, including Sunday morning parish worship. So I sort of think if we don't get hold of that and see, actually, you know, mission is about seeing where God is at work and joining in. God is at work in these places. And if we're not seeking to see where we can join in with God's work in those places, I think we're missing a trick.
And obviously you explore possibilities of chaplaincy in particular. That's the theme of your book.
Yeah.
Now, people might have a very traditional model of chaplaincy in their mind. I guess a lot of clergy, it's probably very casual. What sort of model do you believe works really well today?
I think the key thing really is, rather than saying there is a one-size-fits-all model and if you do this, it will work in your school, is one of the things I say in the booklet is context is key. And I think there's a number of questions around that. What is the context that the school is in? What is the situation of the school? But also, you know, your own context, your own situation. You know, have you got 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month to nip into school, or have you got a team of people? So I think the context, both of time, the chaplain, the team of chaplaincy, the school and how it feels about chaplaincy and the leadership support of it, and just the sort of geographical and sociological context of the school shapes chaplaincy. Having said that, I think there are probably two key elements to chaplaincy. One, which just comes up in every single model, is the importance of presence. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the phrases that was used in the book that I came across in research was the chaplain being a walking sacrament. And I thought that was quite a nice way of putting it. And for some of the people in the school, that will be the only face of Christianity that they see. So I think presence is key. Now, for somebody employed full time, that's going to look quite different to the person that's got an hour a week. But the presence, I think, is an essential core theme that runs through. And also the pastoral aspect. I think there's many other aspects in the teaching aspect, particularly with collective worship. They seem to be key threads that go through any model. But I think, you know, as I say, context is key, would be my phrase around that, really.
And another area of context is the understanding of mission.
Yes.
Because that's one of your questions at the end of chapter 1, isn't it? You know, what's your model of mission and how will that shape it? How would you define mission?
Well, in the booklet, I've deliberately used the 5 marks of mission. I think for a number of reasons. There's lots of different definitions of mission out there. Very often they can tend to be linked into a particular tradition or a particular theological understanding, whereas the 5 marks of mission are very overarching. But also with the 5 marks, one of the Church of England's education talks about church schools being both deeply Christian and serving the common good. And I think if you look at the 5 marks of mission, that's probably one of the definitions of mission that sums that up the best. The first 2 are very much around proclamation and discipleship, and the other 3, you know, the pastoral care, the sort of the justice aspect, and the care for creation. I think that's a very holistic view of mission, and I think the view of mission the Church of England has for education, as I understand it, is the same: deeply Christian, serving the common good. It's a very holistic approach to mission.
I was interested chatting to you earlier. You talked about a hybrid model. And a hybrid is getting a very trendy word in terms of the church. How do you understand that in terms of chaplaincy?
I think the example I was talking about, before I was ordained, I worked in Nottingham at Blue Coat Academy for many years, and we introduced a new model of chaplaincy, and I think I described it to you as a hybrid between traditional chaplaincy and street pastors.
Right.
And the more sort of the traditional chaplain in school, leading worship, often teaching, tends to be RE, but not always, and the sort of pastoral care aspect. But this hybrid model, as I described it, it took the best aspects of street pastors, who also now run school pastors, where you have a team of people from the local community, and there's different strengths and different things that people bring to it. And they're, again, visible out in the community, a bit like the street pastors are. We had sort of the high-vis, the jackets, some nice night jackets with blue coat pastors on the back, and the pastors would be out and about sort of talking to the students. In some places, the school pastors are on the school bus, particularly where there's often bullying and incidents on school buses. So again, that's where context is key. But yeah, that model in particular that we sought to trial, and was the focus of my MA research. The growth booklet's a little bit broader than that, was very much this hybrid between the sort of street pastor, school pastor, and traditional chaplain.
Okay, you've talked quite a lot about other people, teams, and how important is it to try and get a team of people involved in chaplaincy work?
I mean, I think that brings out the best in chaplaincy. It's not always possible, and in some places it is the sort of the one person band, and I think there are strengths to that, and particularly if there's one core figure that students and staff can identify with. But I think the beauty of building a team of chaplains is that it enables links with local church communities, which I think is essential for discipleship. It's okay having access to Christian faith and worship in school. What happens when you leave? So I think the local church input, I really am a real advocate of churches working together across denominations and traditions. And I think each different person brings different strengths. So one of the examples where I was working, we had an older couple who were also like the grandparents, and the students loved them because it was like, it was granny and granddad. And then there was another younger guy, the Salvation Army guy, and he came in and did a prayer meeting with the people that were more involved in Christian faith, and then did a session down the allotment with some of the kids that were on the edge of exclusion. So I think the team thing actually just brings a more of a depth and a strength and a broadness to it. And one of the things as well we're seeking to develop is the possibility of sixth formers, and actually raising up leadership in young people and enabling leadership in others. So the team aspect is able to draw in and raise up leadership in others and play to strengths in a way that the one person band doesn't. But I'm not a one person band person. I'm much more of a team player myself.
I think that's a really fascinating idea of the leadership from within the school itself, rather different from prefects in the old days.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another book, Sarah. Maybe we'll come and talk about that
Possibly,
one.
Yeah.
Just one final question. You're talking about context, and of course the context at the moment is COVID and the huge change it's brought about in society and schools. How can you say anything about how that is changing chaplaincy, the way churches might work, or you think it might change it in the future as school begins to get back again?
That's a really good question. I mean, I can only really talk about my own context, in that I've just moved into a new area to church plant and established a really good relationship with a fantastic local school. And the chaplaincy has been at a bit of a distance. So I've been regularly talking to the head. We took cakes into all the staff just before half term, just to say you are valued. So I think there's a creativeness and a different way of doing chaplaincy. Chaplaincy is also an offer. So staff have been offered to have a Zoom meeting with myself, and staff particularly in this instance. So I think there's creative ways around trying to support schools from the outside, because I'm not employed there. I can't physically be in there. There will be chaplains that are physically in school because it's part of their role, and I'm sure that will be very different. I think possibly, sadly, emerging from this, the role of the chaplain in pastoral care around mental health and bereavement is really going to be something that we need to consider, and will be a place where chaplains can really make a difference.
To get a copy of Sarah's book, go to the Grove Books website, where you can order Chaplaincy and Mission as a print copy with free postage or as a PDF. There are many more great Grove books applying the Bible to a wide variety of situations. They're written by authors who know what they're writing about. Grove books are bite-sized publications that you can really get your teeth into. Goodbye for now. Hope to see you again soon.